Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to some more subscriber replays, and apologies if I sound like I'm a bit under the weather at the moment. That's because I am. The second round of the cold, lurgy, freshers flu, man flu thing has hit. So we'll see how that goes. On with today's video. So in this video we have got a couple of games courtesy of Azakow. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, this is an individual from the World of Tanks EU forums, or at least that's where I know them from. And they enjoy light tanks, and fast medium tanks, and fast tank destroyers. Basically they're like anything with a beefy engine, and that relies more on its camouflage than its armour. On which note, the Jagdpanzer 105. Sorry, the Kanonen Jagdpanzer 105. Now, I wanted to show these couple of games. They're both going to be in the K-pop Panther here. Because this isn't... Well, there's a few reasons. So firstly, neither of these games is Azakow top tier. This is a tier 9 game, and when we get onto the second one, it will be actually a tier 10 game. The K-pop Panther here isn't... It's not the most popular, nor is it the best tank in the world. And certainly in this first game, I mean, this isn't exactly Tank Destroyer Heaven. We're here on Ensk, of course. Not Ensk. Ruinberg. That's the map. Oh, brain fart. We're here on Ruinberg. It's not exactly Tank Destroyer Heaven. But also, I think these games show you what you can do with some mobility as long as you know what you're doing. Or you've got a plan. Even if you're in a tank like this, which you'd think is a flimsy tank destroyer, and you know a lot of people play it as that glass cannon sniping at the back. And to start with, Azakow is definitely sniping here. And it's not as if the Jagdpanther here doesn't have a punchy gun. It does, even if it does take forever to aim. Hello, Mr. Barask. But Azakow isn't pulling the trigger here, because if he did, he'd get spotted. So he pulls back just so that the bush in front of him goes opaque, and then he pulls the trigger, because ordinarily when you fire your gun in this game, you remove the, or you decrease the camouflage bonus you are getting from any concealment you're hiding in. But if the bush in between you and your target, or in between you and whoever is looking at you, is opaque, then you don't. So Azakow has not actually been spotted. This is good bush gameplay, shall we say. So he hasn't actually been spotted yet. And he's happily farming away these guys. Now, he's going to do that at the moment. This game is not just going to be Azakow sitting at the back of the map, farming away. I think that shot there was designed to track the object 430. And you can see Azakow is just trying to keep that bush between himself and the object. And he's not pulling the trigger. Now, at this point, I think you could make a good case for pulling the trigger to shoot the object. And indeed, Azakow does. Gets a slightly high damage roll and finishes him off. So, the ISU next to him, by the way, his positioning was not great, or not as good. And he's being killed, in fact, by a Stridsvagn 103. So that tells Azakow there is a sneaky Swedish tank destroyer, probably somewhere on that mid-ridge. Need to be careful of him. But Azakow has picked up a cheeky 1500 damage and 3 kills in the opening minutes of this game, which is nice. And, ooh, there's an Udes. Swedish medium tank. If Azakow's patient here, he should be able to get a shot. Oh, no, the guy's using the ridgelines very sensibly. Forward into the front bush to get some spotting. And this is where your sort of sneaky tank destroyer gameplay and your light tank gameplay kind of overlap. Because you're trying to use and abuse camouflage and vision mechanics rather than boss your way through with armour. And like I say, I thought these games were quite a nice little demonstration of what one can do. So, goes for the tracking shot there, actually kills the guy anyway, picks up a load of assistance damage. It was Azakow doing the spotting on that Swedish medium tank, and suddenly Azakow's on 1700 of his own damage, over 2000 assistance damage, and 4 kills, and he hasn't taken a point of damage himself. And he's congratulating the waffle thrower, to be fair. So that's nice. And between them, you've got Azakow in his Canonian Jagdpanzer, we've got the Waffle Thrower over to the right-hand side, and there's a Char Future 4 over here as well, but they've kind of held back the tide. But there's still that Swedish tank destroyer somewhere. Where is a very good question. So now we just play the waiting game. And the Char Future 4's letting his team know he's going to reload and then head up the 0 line to try and find things. Has to be a little bit careful because, you know, it's not as if the Char Future is over brimming with armour. He's a fairly mobile machine though. And to his credit, Azakow is going to go with him and give him some help. So if that guy does come across something scary, like for example that Swedish tank destroyer, Azakow should be able to help, although with the armour on that Swedish tank destroyer and this 105mm gun, that might actually get a little bit tricky, but let's just pause that thought, because there's a cheeky American light tank trying to do cheeky American light tank things. Oh, and unfortunately the reload on this gun is not very good. Can we spot the T-92? Oh, he's there. The Waffle Thrower's still alive. If that T-92 is not cautious, he'll become Azakow's 5th kill. Come on, T-92. Come on, just poke. You know you want to. And Azakow's like, screw this. Now, this is a little bit of a risk because we still don't know where that Swedish tank destroyer is, though, at this point. Given where the Char Future 4 is, and oh no, he turns up at exactly the wrong moment, and he has a tier 8 Swedish TD friend. Oh, that is bad. That is very, very bad. So in this situation, the one of the problems Azakow now has. Oh, that was a beautiful shot. Whoever got that into the Stritzwang there. The problem Azakow had was that the Stritzwang's armour is angled back such that you need a bigger gun than Azakow has in order to reliably damage him, and Azakow takes another damaging shot from the Type 61. Thankfully that was a slightly low damage roll, well, I mean only by 1 to be fair. But Azakow is now on 10 hit points. Oh dear. That move across to engage the T-92 was risky because we kind of had a good idea that there was a Swedish tank destroyer up on that ridgeline, or there had been a Swedish TD up on that ridgeline, and actually, as it turned out, there were 2. So Azakow is just running away here. Whoop, 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 whoop. You really don't want to get slapped by that Type 61 again, because you'll be dead. And that won't be very useful. So back to doing some good bushwork. Being patient, and seeing what comes up. And there's the Type 61. Doesn't look like there's a clean shot on him. Who else have we got? Well, there's the Stritzwang, who was last spotted up there as well, so Azakow really doesn't want to be the one pushing up here. And of course, there's always the ever-present threat of artillery, and Wacky Kaki the Noob, loving that name by the way, in his E50 picks up the Type 61 kill, and that leaves the Stritzwang. Now, Stritzwang S1 has 30mm of armour sloped back at an auto-bounce angle, so in order to deal with that guy, really you want to be able to overmatch his armour, which means you need a gun that is larger than 90mm, and the K-pop Panther here is packing a 105, so that should be up to the task. Now the next question is, where has this guy gone? He's probably backed himself off into a corner to do a last stand, let's be honest. Those things have got very good camo. They're very sneaky, so we do need to be a little bit careful here. Slightly worryingly, if you actually look at the hit points here, although Azakow's team is definitely in the lead on the kills, hit points wise that's a slight lead, which means all of these friendly tanks are one-shots. There's the Swedish TD, takes out the Tiger II. Azakow is able to put a shot into him. Unfortunately, reload of this gun can be measured on geological timescales, but the Waffle Thrower's like, nope, and just deletes him. That leaves the artillery, and Wacky Kaki the Noob even invites Azakow there to a cheeky little platoon. So, So. Going for that artillery, M53, M55. He's almost certainly in this corner somewhere. There he is. Come on. Yes, there we go. Cheeky little kill there for kill number 5, and that is the game. Let's have a look at the post-game stats. So that game was enough for Ace Tanger, Spotter, Bruiser, Fighter, Fire for Effect, and a cheeky Brothers in Arms medal at the end there. An Ace Tanker and a reasonable game, but not how you typically expect people to pick up Ace Tankers in their lightly armoured tank destroyers. Let's be honest, 2,219 damage done is not the highest on his team, but I think it's 4th or 5th on his team, so it's a respectable amount of damage to be doing. 5 kills, 1,288 base experience, definitely a nice amount to have. Commiserations on the enemy team should probably go to that Slitzvang S1 in particular. 3k damage from him just wasn't enough in the end. 10 shots fired, 9 hits, 8 pens for that damage count. Most of it was actually from relatively close range. Again, not that common in those sort of fragile TDs. 3 hits received, 2 pens. You cannot expect the armour on these tanks to do very much. Bit of splash there from artillery, 3 enemy vehicles spotted, 6 damaged, 5 destroyed, 3,895 assistance damage, nom 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 nom. 2.81 kilometers travelled, and 92,000 credit profit. Beautiful. For that 10-minute game there, so there we go. A nice game to start off with, using bush mechanics to your advantage, keeping yourself sensibly mobile. And now we're going to move on to another one, which, as I mentioned, is tier 10. So this one is, you have to play it carefully or you're going to get deleted. In our second game then, as I mentioned, it's a tier 10 match. It's actually got slightly more tier 10s than most tier 10 matches that a tier 8 will find itself in. And we're here on the Glacier map. And the thing with tier 10 games, or one of the really noticeable things, when you're in a tier 8, is the hit point difference. Azakow here is on basically 1,000 hit points, just a shade over 1,000 hit points. Well, that TVP's got almost 2,000, and that's a medium tank. 60 TP's probably on like 2,500 or something like that. Super Conqueror 2,400. You know, it starts getting just a little bit silly. And there are guns on the enemy team that can 1 or 2 shot Azakow here without any great problems, and there are plenty of them. So when you're in this sort of scenario, you have to be ever so careful, or you are just going to be deleted. Having said that, if you are careful to the point that you just sit at the back of the map all game long, what are you doing for your team? So there's 2 ways of looking at this, and you kind of want to find a sweet spot between them when you're playing in those bottom tier matchups. On the one hand, you are in a vulnerable position because you're in a little tonk in a big tonk's world. And it won't take much, nice shot, for people to really put the pressure on you and just take you out of the game. And if you're not in it, you can't really contribute to winning it. The other way of looking at it is, because you are a bottom tier tank, that gives you a degree of freedom. No one's really expecting anything from you, and no one's really relying on you. People are expecting good things from the 60 TP and the Super Conqueror and the TVP and the Death Star. But down here in your little K-pop Panther, not so much. So what that means is you can actually take some risks, because if you die, oh well, you probably weren't integral to your team's performance anyway. But if your risk pays off, oh, you can start actually having a really big impact on the match. Completely disproportionate compared to the power of the machine that you're driving. So you'll notice the position Azakow's taken here. He's kind of using his lightly armoured tank destroyer here, sort of a bit like a light tank. He's got himself into an reasonably aggressive forward location. He's been doing some spotting. He's been putting in some opportunistic shots, and to be fair to this gun, whilst it may not reload especially quickly, it does hit for 390, which is enough that even tier 10 tanks will still feel it. This is an interesting way of playing this map. A lot of people in their lightly armoured tank destroyers would essentially be base camping. And like, look, you've got the Scorpion, you've got the Death Star, you've got, what is that, a Stritzwang, all sitting at F8. And the problem with that is, well, how much are you contributing to the game? How much are you helping your team to win? Now, in this case, there isn't any artillery in the match, but if there were artillery, how much are you leaving yourself vulnerable to them? Look at what Azakow's achieved. He's got some spotting, he's got 1500 damage now, and he's picked up a kill, securing the removal of a tier 10, that is a top tier heavy tank, from this match. He's having a very significant impact on a tier 10 game, despite playing in a tier 8, and let's be brutally honest here, not a very good tier 8 at that. So, let's continue to see what he does. Moving forwards a little bit. Now, there was the T-28 prototype who was last spotted over here somewhere. There's an ISU, but I don't think we've got a clear line of sight toward that ISU. So Azakow is trying to get some spotting here, basically. And, oh, okay, hello. Okay, that's a waffle thrower. And that's an AE Phase 1. Oh, lovely shot there. Looked like into the side of the turret of that Tier 9 American, I think. Heavy tank. Oh, Progetto, take the shot blind. You never know your luck. Oh, no, but Azakow does get spotted for his trouble there. Maybe the blind shot wasn't such a good idea, and he does end up eating a shot from a Rheinmetall Borsig in return. And there you can see what I mean about the hit points. That wasn't even a tier 10 shooting him, that was just a tier 8, albeit a tank destroyer, and already almost half of Azakow's hit points just disappear, and that was a low damage roll from that Borsig. That gun, assuming he's using the small gun, that gun hits for 490 on average, and he only rolled for 435. Azakow there manages to get a shot into that tier 9 waffle thrower, setting him on fire to secure the kill. A lot of this game is about risk-reward, let's be honest here, and you're trying to find that sweet spot, that balance. You're taking enough risk to contribute meaningfully to the game and your team, but not so much that you're just throwing your tank away. Now, Borsig and T-28 are spotted away to Azakow's left. Oh dear. Takes a shot against the AE Phase 1 there, but the shot bounces. AE Phase 1 is only on 321 health. It'd be really nice if Azakow could pick up the kill here, but that's asking a little bit much. By the way, while all this has been going on, his team have eked out a 3,000 hit point lead and a 3 kill lead. And when you think that Azakow himself has managed to do 2,200 damage and allow his team via spotting to do another 1,500, he is responsible, or partly responsible, for quite a lot of that damage difference. His team is 2 kills up, Azakow has... Sorry, his team is 3 kills up and Azakow has 2 teams. So, 2 teams, 2 kills. So you can definitely see the impact that he has made on this game. Now, unfortunately, just as I say that the team has a kill lead and a hit point lead, you know, a couple of his team just start whittling that away. The hit point lead is now down from 3,000 to just over 100. The kill lead is down from 3 to 1. This game is still all to play for, but without Azakow's contribution here, his team would most certainly be losing. Just trying to find an opportunity here. The Progetto and the Borsig have dropped down. That means that, well, it wasn't needed, but Azakow could have been able to get a shot into the flank of that Progetto, but as it is, like I say, it's not necessary, and the hit points swing again in the friendly team's favour. Azakow switching out for a HE round here because a hull down AE Phase 1 is not going to take out with regular APCR rounds, but a HE round into the turret roof could definitely do the job. The unfortunate thing there is there's a T-28 prototype, although there is a TVP on the friendly team that is near Azakow. So Azakow is trying to see if he can pick up a kill on this AE Phase 1. Cheeky little bit of high explosive splash there would be nice. We'll see how it works out. I know I keep saying high explosive splash. These days the HE shell mechanics have been changed, but I'm not going to go into that. You could still make this sort of shot work. Wouldn't be as good as it used to be, but you could still try and make this work. The Friendly team do have an advantage, although it is not an unassailable one, certainly. I mean, there's no such thing as an unassailable advantage, really. Yeah, this definitely isn't that. When you consider the big guns left on the enemy team, it wouldn't take them too much to put the 1400 damage in needed to level this game off. And the enemy team have won that north west corner up in A1, and we last saw a T-57 Heavy and an FV-4005 up there, both tanks worthy of respect. There's the AE Phase 1. Can we get that cheeky HE shot off? There we go. Lovely job. Very well done. There's the good news. As for the bad news, the friendly TVP just got blapped by the FV. And speaking of bad news, it just keeps rolling. Azakow has still got a high explosive round loaded here, so he's backing off away from this T28 prototype. Actually manages to do it. Really wanted an AP round there. I am surprised that he didn't reload after firing that one against the AE Phase 1, if I'm going to be honest. Still got the HE round loaded, which I still think is a poor idea. Although, to be fair, side of the turret? I even missed. What's the pen on this HE? It's 53. It's not really going to do a great deal for you in this sort of situation, but Azakow is still able to keep the guy spotted, which allows his team to put some damage in and then pick up the kill himself. T-57 Heavy is actually not got a direct line of sight on Azakow at this point in time and appears to have other things to worry about. Azakow trying to be sneaky here, FV-4005 and ooh, the 50 TP, but Azakow bounces off of that Polish heavy tank. Maybe with the HE round, Azakow thought he might get a shot into that FV-4005. That big turret is really rather weak, and HE can do a lot of good work against it, but wouldn't have been my choice. Anyway, that's a relatively minor point in the grand scheme of things. This is a very nicely played game. So, T-57 Heavy, dangerous because of that 4-shell autoloader and pretty quick magazine reload time and indeed unload time for that mag. FV-4005, joint biggest non-SPG gun in the game. Side of the turret, yes please, thank you very much. And the 50 TP, although it's only quote-unquote a tier 9, still a very nice gun and heavily armoured machine, and definitely one that is dangerous. So, the friendly team at this point have managed to eke out a 4,000 hit point lead and 2 kills. So, it's looking pretty good, and the remainder of the friendly team here don't really seem to be in a hurry to make a stupid play, as far as I can see, although maybe that Udez is bitten off just a little bit more than he can chew. That's not looking good. It looks like Mr. Udez might be about to go to the big tank yard in the sky. Just as I was bigging the friendly team up there, they do something. Well, one of them does something a little bit brave. So, the friendly team still have a 3,000 hit point lead, but that can quickly go wrong, although there goes the T-57 Heavy, and this is starting to become quite ugly for the enemy team. Azakow is using his mobility to be somewhere else, and that's always the nice thing about tanks with mobility. You can relocate to try and catch your opponent unawares. So in this particular situation, we know the 50 TP and the FV-4005 were both spotted by the enemy base, and neither tank is super duper mobile, so they're unlikely to have relocated from there, and if they tried, they're not particularly sneaky either, so it would be quite difficult for them to do so without being spotted. Azakow, on the other hand, can happily bombing around pretty much 70 kilometers an hour and take up a different firing angle and position to try and catch these guys unawares. He could even go up to the ridge, the outcrop at sort of C2, and see if he could get some shots from there, and indeed it looks like that might be what he's trying to do here. So, in this sort of situation, if it were just the FV-4005 left, then you might wish to use the high explosive rounds. But he doesn't have any left anyway, and AP is the more reliable choice because you've got that 50 TP as well, and as Azakow points out in chat, and in case anyone hasn't been paying attention here, we are starting to run rather short on time. Less than 2.5 minutes left of this match. It really is the friendly team's game to lose, but draws are a thing that can still happen, as frustrating as they are. So Azakow trying to make himself useful. 50 TP has been spotted out there. The friendly Death Star is moving up as well. There's the 50 TP. Can Azakow get himself into a position to start putting shots into this heavy tank? Really do need to because of that time. There we go, nice shot there. And this is where this tank can be a little bit frustrating because time-wise you're really up against it and the reload on this gun is not very good. Picking up a sneaky kill there on the FV4005 and that just leaves this 50 TP. He shouldn't be long for the world and indeed he gets deleted by the Death Star. And with about a minute and a half left on the clock, that is the match. Very nicely done. Let's have a look at the post-game stats for this one. Bit more of a slow burner, that game, but still one. I think both of those games actually displayed a good degree of patience and timing and pushing it when you need to, but not overly so, most of the time. So, that ended up being enough for Ace, Tanker, Spotter, Bruiser, Arsonist, Fighter, Fire for Effect, and always a nice medal to get, a Halonen's medal, which you basically get if you're playing in a tank destroyer, and you murder multiple enemy vehicles that are 2 tiers higher than you, which is always pleasant, and Azakow picked up kills on the FV4005, that's tier 10, and the IS4, that's tier 10. Very nicely done there. 3,638 damage, 5 kills, 1,585 base experience. Like, just well played. Actually, highest amount of damage on Azakow's team was Azakow there, which when you're in a tier 8 is quite something. And the only person in the game that actually achieved more damage was the enemy FV4005. 17 shots fired, 15 hits, 11 pens, 1 splash damage. Anyway, most of that damage was from longer range, which is more what you would expect. 1 hit received, it penetrated because armor is a thing this tank doesn't have. 4 enemy vehicles spotted, 9 damaged, 5 destroyed, 3,360 assistance damage, just shy of 4 kilometers traveled, and 110,000 credits. Well, 111,000 credit profit. Remembering, of course, this is a premium tank. Anyway, there we go, a couple of games for you. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing something a little bit different from your tier 8 tank destroyers in that one. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel. Hopefully I will be less nasal next time, we shall see. And as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.